Well, good afternoon. I'm actually going to ask my colleague. It's always great to have a fellow president, and two of us do commiserate, but I'd like Greg to come forward as well. And well, not on the agenda, but we've had the privilege as both of us as presidents of this remarkable place to have remarkable people to celebrate, and clearly today we're doing that with Barry. I think he has tolerated at least both of us. But for us, he's made our lives so much easier. And by the way, I mean that by the fact that through his reputation, his passion for students, first and foremost, for this university, and of course now his ongoing involvement, which is just remarkable, he really does bring the very best forward every single day in representing Upstate Medical University. He is someone that always has a smile on his face and in his voice. Someone that connects with everyone he sees, so much so that whether or not it's past generations or present, he's always relevant. He brings vigor to that conversation and moment, and he certainly enables us to provide the very best care because he's able to bring that connectivity as well. He enjoys life. Has a little bit of fun. Yes, I know. I've met the group over there. I was trying not to. I was not going to look them all in the eyes, but these. You notice where he's now standing, yes, with his wine crew. But I know on behalf of the entire university, two of the finest words in the English language are thank you. I don't see them enough, but they're really quite remarkable words. But this university is extremely grateful, and indeed, the kindest words we can say is thank you. I remind people that I'm also a bit of a fan of, and certainly a student of Native American cultures, and the Navajos, their greatest recognition of anyone is to call them a human being. That is the finest recognition they can come to describe someone, and truly Barry Berg, and Barry Berg is a human being. And I'd like all of us to give him a round of applause. I know Greg has some words as well.
I learned a long time ago, never show up any place without thinking first what you might say if you had the remotest chance to be called on. So I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the Alumni Association, because without the push of the Alumni Association, this beautiful building wouldn't be here. And you probably gathered I have a close attachment to this building. The other thing is, Barry, without your presence, I would safely say that thousands of medical students, if not wouldn't be here, they wouldn't be in the place they are. I mean, it's just an incredible record. And I see Gino over here smiling. He can hardly wait until we get this thing uncovered and everything. So I just want to express my personal, sort of official thanks to you when I was president, but also my personal thanks to you. I mean, you've just been a wonderful person and a great colleague.
It really is an honor to be up here and say something about Barry, who I got to know first as a medical student. And if there's a miracle worker here, it may be Barry. The affection with which he is held by generations of medical students is simply astounding. Many of us are in the room right now. How many people were taught by Barry here? Raise your hand. Look at all those hands. Okay? And they're here now, many, many years later, to pay tribute to you. And I can tell you that as I travel to alumni activities or run into people around the country, one of the first people they always ask about is Barry Berg. How's he doing? And I'm glad to say that he's doing very well. So, Barry, thank you so much for everything you've done for so long. This is a very fitting tribute, and it's now my great pleasure to introduce somebody else who's going to say a few words about you. Gino Andriato. Gino.
I'm going to read most of mine because when you get into your 80s, one of the things I discovered, sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes later in the afternoon, but an atrophied brain doesn't remember the second sentence, let alone an entire talk on behalf of someone like Barry Berg. I didn't want to leave too much to chance, so bear with me. I've had the distinct pleasure, and I think an honor too, as you've heard already, and great satisfaction of working with Barry Berg until 1995, and that's when I retired. But during this time, with mutual friends, you heard a little bit about our wine groups. I think everybody are aware of that. So as I approached my 80th birthday, no, actually it was my 70th, no, it was my 72nd. I got out of the wine tasting group, but I do see there are 2 or 3 friends that are still here. And I miss what we did, and it was wonderful sampling the various wines. So there wasn't all work during all of this time. So with mutual friends and colleagues, I think our friendship has continued to this day. And it's really with great pleasure and a great deal of humbleness on my part that he asked me to say a few words today. So congratulations, Barry Berg. The portrait statement is accurate, that we've all seen and read, but a few salient and historical facts during that time. I appreciate why we are here to honor him today. The medical profession to the 1960s, which is about when I started, which is much smaller in number, Caucasian males. I mean, you would look around and nobody thought of it. It was part of the culture of the day, and there was nothing wrong with it, but that's, as we say today, the way it was. Our own Patricia Newman, who's also surgeon, faculty, administrators, national prominence, pictures on the wall, 1961, 5 other females in the class, a class numbering 75 students. Several national changes began in the 1960s. Besides the national protests and riots over Vietnam that everybody was reminded, and the paper continues to do it, but for different reasons today. The country's population was also expanding. New and improving research technology and science was blossoming. More young people were going to college. The country needed physicians. More women wanted an education. Imagine that. Unforeseen until then, men and women of color, minority as they were called, also wanted an education. Only 2 medical schools in the entire country openly invited and graduated physicians of color. It was a slow and laborious process in keeping with the cultural changes occurring in our society at that time. With the Association of American Medical Colleges, the AMA as well, finally, medical education for more students. The country needed more physicians. The AAMC was helpful, and we were part of that in the 60s and 70s in getting more federal aid through the government and expanded the health professions, student loan and scholarship program. But class size had to incrementally increase. So Barry Berg's course was not just anatomy in the regular year, it had to be summer school. And then we taught it again in the fall, and that didn't work very well. So what we ended up doing was stretching a program over a 5-year period. Guess who handled 99% of the anatomy? Yes, Barry Berg. Medical education was also going through a cultural and historical change. More students, greater diversity. Courses failed more frequently by students were anatomy, biochemistry, if there's anybody here, physiology, pathology closely behind him. So summer anatomy and the 5-year program for the MD emerged, and Barry Berg was an essential part of that. A part of assisting in teaching students in anatomy in the summer and in the 5-year program. His personality, interest, and ability to teach, his care and nurturing of students went well beyond anatomy. He was and is a shining light, a beacon, a teacher that students, faculty, and administration could rely upon and admire. Barry, thanks for your friendship. Congratulations on the well-deserved honor you received today. And may your portrait reflect your presence and replenish the memory of all the students that were fortunate to take your courses and advice. And a special thanks to the alumni staff for their support in making this Barry Berg Day.
It's no, really. It's fitting that Dean Andreatta be here when I'm here. It's just really fitting. When Barry asked me to say a few words, I realized that he was dementia had set in. Let me get to the important points. First of all, thank you for asking me. I have no idea why you did this. I want to thank you for letting me into the medical school. I didn't realize I was part of a statistical upheaval. I came to medical school here too long ago, after a wonderful time in college. I hope all of you had fun in college. But it dawned on me when I got here that the fun really was over. Really, it's terrible. And I was ambling about school, thinking here was a scholarly event. I was going to grow and be nurtured. Dr. Ames is here. And I was pretty much lost in the wilderness. I really wanted to go back to college like a kid from camp. And then I ran into Barry, who had just gotten here from the West Coast. And I realized here's a guy who's in worse shape than me. He left California and the fun days, UCLA. I mean, I can't, I'm looking at him like I better be nice to this guy. Not a chance. Everybody, the best thing I can say about Barry over the years is the phrase pay it forward. I was raised that way too, paying it forward to a lot of people. Barry and I have a lot of really fun memories in life through the years. The only time Barry ever scared me was when, I don't know if you know that his wife Francine is the cantor at our synagogue, a place that Barry never goes to. And then one high holiday service, in walks Barry, and I figured this is it, it's the apocalypse. I better pay attention to this. Remember that, Frank? Don't do that again. I said, no chance. The building trembled. I said, I turned around to my wife, I said, Barry's here, I got to pay attention. And all through the medical experience, and this has made me better. Every time there was an opportunity for me to pay it forward to students, Barry called me. It was amazing to me how many steps within the medical school educational process he's involved with. Whether it be first year students with anatomy, and my daughter took summer anatomy, advising students through the advisory dean program, the medical school admissions committee, the alumni, you know all the CV stuff. But the point is, it's absolutely amazing how many students fondly remember Barry. And that's just it. I mean, all of us should leave here and get the students here. He has gotten me involved in a lot of activities, which was really rude. And it's just, you got to be on this board, you ought to do that. And I would always call him and ask him, how should I behave, what should we do, and why is this person crazy? Never listen. But in all honesty, I call Barry for advice about a lot of things. I think everybody here has already touched bases with him. And without droning on and on about how good he is and what he is, he's a mensch. That's a person of substance, kindness, and care who thinks only of the other person and not himself. And how do you do better than that? So Barry, thank you. And we need to both of us go back to college in California. Thanks.
Leah? Kristen, you get the back here and then flip on the back.
Oh, I already got it.
Oh, you got it. Ready?
it means to me. Unlike one of my idols, Gino Andreatta, took him 10 years longer than me to have to read things, but I'm going to do that now. Kind of feel like Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. You talking about me? You talking about me? Whisper. I feel like a 200 hitter about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. How does one sum up a lifetime? Well, first, I'm especially grateful to my family for the love, encouragement, and support. My wife, Fran, who stood by me for 34 years, and after tonight might leave. For today, at least, I'm no longer the cantor's husband, but she is my wife. I'm so glad my svelte daughter, Jennifer, is here, who rallied from serious health issues, and with her daughter, the wonderkin, Piper, and my son, Mark, who flew in from California, which we're going to soon, as soon as I can grow more hair. And they don't let you in without it. And his child, the awesome Rachel B. Trying to use a phrase from a Grateful Dead tune, what a long, strange trip this has been. Mine is a journey that almost never happened. Were it not for the late George Reed, who's Dean of the College of Medicine, who had the insight to offer me an opportunity to trade the research lab for administration. And in my role as assistant dean, the opportunity to become actively involved in the lives of our students. Talk about naive. Nothing in graduate school prepared me for what lied ahead. Fortunately, I came under the tutelage of some great people, most notably Gino Andreatta. You heard some of our accomplishments. We worked together for quite a while, and I understood from working with him how important it was for the faculty and student affairs people to work together so that they can promote a learning environment that was responsible for, in the words of the late Cookie Jacobson, Upstate's ability to produce first-rate physicians. And more important, we developed a friendship that I will always cherish. Now that UCLA is mediocre in basketball, I know I'm right, and the Yankees are relegated to the last place in the AL East, I want to address something I did develop in graduate school, and that was a passion for teaching anatomy. I had a great mentor in J.C.B. Grant, for those of you who know of him, and was fortunate enough to teach with a committed group of colleagues in anatomy. Our accomplishments and achievements are familiar to most. Someone who may not be as well known, but who's really what I think is the heart and soul of our teaching program, is Nancy Dobbins. And she's going to kill me, but I had to say that. Because her dedication and her persistence is a big reason why we've achieved as much as we did. So thank you, Nancy. Whatever I may have accomplished in teaching can be traced to what I call 4 milestones. The first Gino talked about was starting the first summer growth program as part of our Upstate Minority Educational Development Program. I can't stress how much I learned about the teaching of anatomy or how thick my skin became, because not everyone believed that the same summer and fall courses could be equivalent. But they were, and summer growth continues today. The second opportunity, and those weren't students who failed, those are PT students, was the opportunity to participate in the PT program. One of the best decisions I made was agreeing to teach physical therapy anatomy as part of the program. I learned so much from their faculty about the teaching of functional anatomy. Medical educators wrestle today with the importance of growth in the curriculum. Not so with PT. Every PT professional and educator I've ever encountered understands the pivotal role anatomy plays in physical therapy.
There is one question I never hear from my PT students, and that is, why do I have to know this stuff? The third milestone was directing Upstate's graduate anatomical gift program, which, like anatomy itself, had an interesting history. I learned much about how the dead can teach the living, and how anatomical gift programs such as ours were vital to the educational missions of most health professions programs. These lessons helped me decide to become a donor, but I'm going to wait a while. Thanks to the efforts of Lou Rimler Jr., who was our lab director for over 50 years, Upstate became the first program in the country to invite family members to participate in our memorial service. And that was a big, big thing. I thought the mold was thrown away when Lou retired until I met his successor, Dan Yeager. Many here remember how close the program came to closing. Thanks to his hard work and dedication, and that of Les Melcott and Judy Carroll, we were able to put in practice steps that only kept the program from folding, but enabled it to grow to the one most respected programs in New York State. And I know that my successor, Dr. Donna Mahalia, will have the same encouragement and dedication that I received from them. Finally, the one accomplishment as coordinator for gross anatomy of which I am most proud is having our course voted in the graduation questionnaire as the basic science course that best prepared students for the clinics. This is in no small part for the Upstate clinical faculty who helped me demonstrate the impact of anatomy on clinical medicine. I don't want this to become a filibuster, and neither do you, but I would be remiss in naming people like John Wolfe, Bill Williams, Mike Bertino, Ernie Scalzetti, half the radiology department, and so many others for helping me develop learning activities that highlight the clinical relevance of gross anatomy. And a very special thanks to Tom LeClaire, Kwame Amakwa, Sebastian Thomas, and especially Bob Weber and Peg Turk for their insights, for their assistance has helped me adapt teaching of clinical anatomy to their specialties, and for believing in me as they do, and allowing me to continue to teach in their programs once I'm retired. I'm really very fortunate to have counted so many wonderful people. And now, as this fantastic journey draws to a close, I want to extend a special heartfelt thanks to Susan Keeter, whose talent is responsible for drawing this amazing portrait. You really did make, where's Susan? You really did make me look like Brad Pitt. I know that unlike the portrait of Dorian Gray, this portrait will remain as part of the law and history of Upstate Medical Center for a good long time. And for that, I am very grateful. I'm also grateful to the Alumni Association for this credible honor. Why you chose me is a mystery, but I am so proud and I am so humbled to accept this. Thank you.